Welcome to the Jaros Health Podcast, where we make it easy for you to better serve older adults through our content that informs, community that inspires, and courses that deliver.
Hello everybody, and welcome to Home Health Recharge here on the Jaros Health. So you probably noticed that PDGM, the final rule, was announced about 1 or 2 weeks ago. And while you're going to see a plethora of resources out there telling you exactly what that means and what's been added and et cetera, I don't really want to dive down into that. But what I do want to do is kind of help you, point you towards some of the resources that are out there to kind of learn some more. And then also, we'll look at 5 things that can kind of help bring value in a post-PDGM world to the home health rehab clinician. First off, let's talk about, there's probably a million and one webinars out there that you can go out and listen to tell you about what PDGM is. The down and dirty is, and what's getting a lot of swirl is that they're taking the therapy incentive to do more visits away. So you're seeing the shift away from visits being the value in home health as opposed to outcomes being more of the value in home health for the therapist, which I think overall is a good thing. You know, we're going to see some growing pains that come with that, obviously, especially if you're in an agency that is very therapy visit driven. There have been some surveys out there, and the one I'm going to talk about today was conducted about Decision Health that suggests that there's going to be a 22.3% of agencies that will, quote unquote, spend considerably less on therapy staff. Now with that, I think everyone here, as well as I, obviously believe in that there's more value in rehab other than just the visits. So I think that this is going to be one of those learning / growth trends that the industry is going to have to go with. I think one of the therapists I was talking to, Jamie Lowy, kind of put it, he had a good analogy about it. It's going to be like more like Goldilocks and the Three Little Bears, where we're probably going to see overcompensation and then go back to undercompensation and then until we finally just get it just right. But with that said, there's a lot of articles out there talking about how therapists can show their value pre-PDGM so that we can help shift this trend away from our value being in the visits. I do want to point out that there is an upcoming webinar that is free to APTA members that I think is going to be really great. I think AOTA members as well as ASHA members. But there's a webinar where those 3 agencies, as well as CMS, is coming together to talk about PDGM. And that is August 5th. So make sure you check your association's website to see when those are going to be available and if you have membership for that. Now with this change, the payment model towards PDGM, it's going to be extremely obvious that CMS is definitely looking more towards value. And they have pretty much laid out what they think value is. I mean, if you look at value-based purchasing, there has been proposed some changes to that as well coming up in the calendar year of 2020, which is more towards the weight of the shift of what they're looking at, more as opposed to them really changing anything up. But if you're looking at the 3 big buckets that they're really looking at with that, you're looking at patient satisfaction, you're looking at outcomes, and you're looking at hospitalization. One of the big things that they're really focusing on is hospitalizations. So if you haven't heard about hospitalizations, get ready. You're going to hear all about hospitalizations. It's really the big get for CMS. It's really what they want to do, and that's where that really costs them a lot of money. With that, let's talk about some skills that will be imperative for us going forward in the PDGM world. Probably heard ad nauseum about the phrase working at the top of your license. And I definitely think that's true. But I kind of wanted to break that down a little bit. What does that actually mean? Or what, this isn't supposed to be an all-inclusive list, but hopefully it can help out a little bit to kind of understand what that means. So number one, embracing your role as a case manager. With PDGM and as well as PDPM, we're going to see a shift. I definitely think we're going to see a shift, not only in how we're accountable for our outcomes, but also in some of the patient populations that we're going to see. I think it's no secret that we're seeing patients stay less and less in the hospital, and they're then sent out into the community, either in a skilled nursing facility or to home, more often than we used to see in the past. And I think we're going to see even more of that, even more coming to home health as opposed to skilled nursing facilities, with PDPM coming out at the same time. And one of the things we're going to have to get used to as therapists as well, now that we're all on a level playing field with nursing, but we're going to have to embrace the role as a case manager as well, especially on those patients where there isn't a nurse in. So with that means looking at patient more holistically, trying to understand other factors that also affect the patient's rehospitalization risk, which includes social determinants, depression, and other factors like that. And I'm not necessarily talking about how now we have to be nurses or now we have to be social workers, but we have to become better at recognizing when to bring those disciplines in and when to refer them out. That brings me to my next skill, is sharpening your interdisciplinary communication. So talking more and more with nurses, with social workers, with other therapists, to make sure that we're addressing all the needs of the patient, not just working in a therapy silo or a nursing silo or a social work silo. Point 3, sharpening your skills for noticing changes for baseline. Now this can be put different ways, but I think we really have a unique place in this as therapists. There's been a lot of research out there by Jason Falvey around, how we can notice changes in baseline from physical activity, which is a big determinant whether the patient will go back into the hospital. I think we own a key aspect in that over some of the other disciplines, because we work with physical activity, we work with function, noticing a change in function, and then communicating that out to either the patient's physician or the nurse that's on the case to research that a little bit more to see if that is a risk of the patient to go back into the hospital. Especially with our CHF patients, we're going to see more and more of those patients, especially in America. CHF and COPD right now isn't going anywhere but up. We're going to see more and more of these patients coming out, and we have to learn how to adapt and work with these patients. But also another risk that's out there that I see from a lot of the hospital systems, especially with surgicals, is the GUGI risk that a patient has post-surgical. They're seeing a lot of patients coming back, being rehospitalized, or coming back to the ED because of constipation. So just understanding and asking your patient about their GUGI functions when they're on these high-risk medications can help reduce your rehospitalization risk. Just a simple question every time you see them. And then obviously, if you get a response that is concerning, then working with either the physician or the case or the nurse that's on the case to try to get that resolved so that before they go back to the hospital. Point 4, embrace your role in reducing rehospitalization. So again, previously I talked a lot about how I think, we're key on a lot of these functions that the nurse may not be looking at, like activity, and which is a huge indicator of whether they're going to the hospital. If you think about frailty as well, frailty is another big one. And if you think about rehospitalization is really, if you think about it, if we're in there to improve the patient's quality of life, the bare minimum would be keeping them out of the hospital. I don't think anybody's quality of life is improved by going in and out of the hospital. And we can make a big impact just by increasing their function, just by increasing their activity, and looking at the patient holistically. And my last point is probably the most obvious out there: improve your skills for improving functional outcomes. Again, value is still looked at as decreasing hospitalizations, as well as improving functional outcomes. And we're really key at improving patients' functional outcomes. We really hold the market really on that in home health. And that is still seen as something as value. So speaking about functional outcomes, doing the best you can to improve functional outcomes. I think this group, Gero Health, all we do is speak about improving clinical skills and improving outcomes on our geriatric patients. I think most people are dedicated to that. So, keep sharpening those, keep pushing your patients, as well as monitoring them to make sure that they're tolerating everything well and that they're able to improve. So hopefully that's a pretty good start. With that, you're obviously going to be practicing at the top of your license. And make sure you keep on top of PDGM. Go out there and watch that webinar out there on August 5th. As well as there are going to be some more upcoming webinars to help get the information out about the changes that are in the PDGM. But we'll definitely make it through it. It's definitely not going to be the death throes of therapy by far in home health. I think it's going to be overall, once the market adjusts, I think it's going to be a good change, that we are getting away from being viewed as just visit makers and more as functional pieces of the team that are out there to improve outcomes of the patients as well as reduce hospitalizations. So cheer up and we'll get through it, and let's go out there and show our value as therapists.
Thank you for listening to the Geros Health Podcast. Go to geroshealth.com to get the show notes for this episode and find out how you can join the Geros community for free. You'll get access to our private Facebook group and the weekly Geros Recap, where we share our favorite reads, podcasts, and any interesting conversations in the Geros community that week. Once again, that's GEROS health.com. Thanks for listening.